Picture this. You spent 2 solid years building trust, helping teammates, and creating the kind of workplace culture everyone wants to be part of. Then, someone walks through the door who's about to turn your professional world completely upside down. Today, I'm sharing a workplace nightmare that started with a seemingly innocent new hire and spiraled into psychological warfare that nearly broke my spirit. The story begins 2 years into my tenure at a company where I genuinely loved what I did. I had established myself as the go-to person for training newcomers, always extending an open hand to anyone who needed guidance. My philosophy was simple. We're all in this together, especially with our organization constantly evolving and throwing new challenges our way. When she walked in that first day, everything seemed normal on the surface. Polite handshakes, warm smiles, all the right words about being excited to join the team. But something felt off. You know that gut feeling when someone's being friendly but it doesn't quite reach their eyes? That was exactly what I experienced, though I couldn't articulate why. Despite that nagging intuition, I did what I always did with new hires. I laid out my standard welcome speech about mutual learning and growth. I told her how my 2 years of experience could help her navigate the company's quirks, while her outside expertise could teach me new perspectives. Looking back, I realized I was essentially handing her the blueprint for how to manipulate our working relationship. The subtle attacks began almost immediately, disguised as innocent questions that carried an undercurrent of disrespect. When I shared important procedural updates from leadership, she would challenge my credibility by asking where I had gotten my information, as if my knowledge was inherently suspect. The tone wasn't one of curiosity or clarification. It was one of questioning my competence and authority to share company information. I brushed off these microaggressions, politely explaining that the information had come directly from our team leads. But the pattern was already forming, and she was just getting started. The real shock came when a trusted coworker pulled me aside with disturbing news. Our new teammate had already submitted formal feedback about multiple colleagues to management. Not the kind of legitimate feedback that protects the company or addresses genuine misconduct, but petty complaints questioning people's job capabilities and work quality. I was stunned. Here was someone who had been with us for mere weeks, already positioning herself as judge and jury over colleagues who had dedicated years to building this workplace. The audacity was breathtaking, but what really got to me was realizing this wasn't random behavior. This was a calculated strategy. Her tactics escalated when she began publicly correcting me in our team chat channels. Professional feedback and collaborative problem solving are essential parts of any healthy workplace. But this felt different. She would point out my mistakes with an authoritative tone that suggested she had some kind of supervisory role over me, which she absolutely did not. The competitive nature of her behavior became crystal clear. She wasn't interested in team success or collaborative growth. She was playing a zero-sum game where other people's failures became stepping stones for her advancement. Unfortunately, her strategy was working brilliantly. By consistently arriving early, staying late, and making herself available around the clock, she caught management's attention and earned a promotion to a level 3 agent. This might sound like a minor advancement, but it came with a dangerous perk: access to listen to all agents' recorded calls, not just her own. I predicted exactly what would happen next, and sure enough, my fears materialized. She listened to one of my recorded customer interactions and filed negative feedback against me, claiming I hadn't performed adequate due diligence during the call. The irony was that this particular situation was completely unique, something I had never encountered before and had to navigate in real time. When I discovered her feedback, I fought back by adding my own detailed response, explaining the unusual circumstances of the call and providing context she had deliberately omitted. I also escalated the situation to my supervisor, expressing how inappropriate I found her behavior and the toxic dynamic she was creating. My supervisor's response was disappointingly dismissive. They brushed off my concerns, claiming the feedback system was simply a tool for identifying training opportunities and that I shouldn't take it personally. This reaction highlighted a fundamental problem. Management couldn't see the psychological warfare happening right under their noses. The stress became almost unbearable. Our job already carried significant pressure, but adding this layer of constant vigilance and defensive positioning made every day feel like walking through a minefield. I found myself second-guessing every interaction, documenting conversations, and losing the collaborative spirit that had made me love this workplace. The breaking point came when I witnessed her reaction to a trainer offering me additional responsibilities. The look of pure jealousy and calculation on her face revealed everything I needed to know about her true motivations. She wasn't building herself up. She was actively working to tear others down. Relief finally came when she announced her resignation, claiming she had found a position better aligned with her career aspirations. The entire team's energy shifted immediately. It was like someone had opened windows in a stuffy room. Suddenly, we could all breathe again. Reflecting on this experience taught me valuable lessons about workplace toxicity. High intelligence and strong work ethic don't automatically translate to positive team contributions. Sometimes the most dangerous colleagues are those who combine genuine competence with manipulative behavior, creating a toxic cocktail that can poison an entire workplace culture. The hardest part wasn't her individual actions. It was watching how easily her tactics succeeded and how management failed to recognize the psychological damage being inflicted on long-term employees. Sometimes the most destructive individuals are those who know exactly how to manipulate the system while appearing completely professional on paper. Hello and welcome back to Workscape Burnout. In our last video, I shared a personal story about a toxic coworker, a story of psychological warfare that nearly broke me. The response was overwhelming when I shared this story to both personal and professional colleagues. I humbly ask and encourage you all to share your own, heartbreakingly similar stories in the comments. It became clear that this isn't just about one bad apple. It's a widespread pattern that inflicts real psychological damage. So today, we're going to do a deep dive. We're moving from storytelling to analysis. We're going to unpack that exact experience through a mental health lens. We'll look at the specific psychological toll, identify the manipulative tactics like gaslighting, talk about the crucial step of setting boundaries, and I'll share some actionable tips informed by therapeutic practices that you can use to protect your peace. My goal here is to make this a genuine resource for you, a place of validation and practical help. Let's start by naming what this experience truly is: a form of chronic psychological stress. It's not the same as having a busy week or a tough project. This is a persistent, low-grade, and sometimes high-intensity assault on your sense of safety, competence, and worth in the workplace. In my story, this manifested in several specific ways. 1. Hypervigilance and the walking on eggshells feeling. Remember how I said every day started to feel like walking through a minefield? That's hypervigilance. Your nervous system is constantly in a state of fight or flight, scanning for the next threat, the next subtle dig, the next piece of negative feedback. This is mentally and physically exhausting. It drains the cognitive resources you should be using for your actual job. 2. Erosion of self-confidence and self-trust. When someone consistently questions your judgment, your knowledge, and your capabilities, especially in a public way, you start to question them yourself. That initial gut feeling I had on day one, I dismissed it. And with every microaggression I brushed off, I was silently teaching my own brain not to trust its instincts. This internal conflict where you feel something is wrong but are told or tell yourself that you're overreacting is incredibly corrosive to your self-esteem. 3. Moral injury. This is a crucial concept. Moral injury occurs when you witness or experience something that betrays your deeply held values and beliefs. For me, my core value was collaboration and we're all in this together. Watching this individual game the system, tear others down, and be rewarded for it while management did nothing, that caused a deep sense of moral injury. It wasn't just that I was hurt. My entire sense of workplace justice and fairness was violated. Now, let's talk about one of the most insidious tactics at play here: gaslighting. Gaslighting is a pattern of manipulation that makes you question your own perception of reality. It makes you feel like you're going crazy. In my story, it wasn't the classic, dramatic gaslighting you see in movies. It was workplace-appropriate gaslighting. Let's break down how it worked. The setup: She would make a claim that distorted reality. For example, filing feedback on my call that omitted crucial context, thereby creating a false narrative of my incompetence. The deniability. When confronted, she could always point to a fact. But you did say X on the call. She would weaponize a tiny fragment of truth, stripped of its context, to support her larger, false narrative. The institutional reinforcement. This is the key. My supervisor's dismissive response, "Don't take it personally," was the final piece of the gaslighting puzzle. It institutionalized the distortion. The system was now telling me that my perception of the situation as an attack was wrong. The problem wasn't her behavior. The problem was my reaction to it. This is the gaslighting burnout pipeline. You are systematically isolated from validation. You start to think, maybe I am too sensitive. Maybe this is just how it is. You begin to self-censor. You stop reporting issues, and you turn the frustration and anger inward. You are doing the emotional labor of managing someone else's toxicity with no support. That, my friends, is a perfect recipe for burnout. Burnout isn't just about being tired. It's a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged stress. It's characterized by cynicism, feelings of reduced accomplishment, and detachment. The gaslighting pipeline directly fuels all three of these components. So, what can you do? The most powerful tool you have is boundary setting. Now, I know this is hard, especially when there's a power dynamic or you fear retaliation. But boundaries aren't about changing the other person's behavior. They are about protecting your own well-being. Based on my experience and research, here are some ways to set boundaries with a toxic coworker. 1. The documented defense. This is a non-confrontational but crucial boundary. The moment you sense a pattern, start a private log. Note the date, time, what was said or done, and who was present. This isn't for drama, it's for data. When you eventually go to management or HR, you're not bringing emotions, you're bringing a documented pattern of behavior. This also helps combat gaslighting by reaffirming your own reality. 2. The professional wall technique. You can be polite and cooperative without being open and vulnerable. This is what I failed to do initially. Limit personal sharing. Keep interactions focused strictly on work tasks. Use neutral, unemotional language. For example, if she publicly corrects you in a chat, you can respond with, "Thank you for the input. I will follow the established procedure on this." It's polite, it's professional, and it creates a barrier. 3. Clarify and control the narrative. When she would question where I got my information, I could have set a firmer boundary. Instead of just answering, I could have said, "The information comes from our team leads, as it always does. Is there a specific part of the update you'd like me to clarify?" This politely but firmly reestablishes your credibility and control in the conversation. 4. The time and place boundary. If someone insists on dragging you into a conflict, you can control the frame. You can say, "I understand you have concerns about this. Let's schedule a meeting with just this supervisor so we can all discuss it with the full context." This moves the interaction from a shady back channel into a structured, accountable space. It often makes manipulators back down. Now let's talk about the internal work. This is the part that goes beyond workplace strategy and into personal healing. I've spent time speaking with therapists and reading on this subject, and here are the key takeaways. First, validate your own experience. You are not crazy. You are not too sensitive. Your feelings are a valid response to invalid behavior. Say that to yourself in the mirror. Write it down. Your nervous system is responding to a real threat. The first step to healing is to stop blaming yourself. Second, reestablish your locus of control. Toxic situations make you feel powerless, like your fate is entirely in the hands of this other person. To counter this, focus on what you can control. You can control your documentation. You can control your responses. You can control your off-hours routine. You can control whether you update your resume. Every small action you take for yourself shifts your locus of control inward and rebuilds a sense of agency. Third, create conscious compartmentalization. This isn't about suppression, it's about containment. When you leave work, Practice a ritual that signals to your brain that you are safe now. This could be changing out of your work clothes immediately, taking a 5-minute walk when you get home, or listening to a specific playlist. It's a signal that says the workday and the stress associated with that person is now over. I am in my life now. And finally, seek external validation. Talk to a trusted friend, a partner, or better yet, a therapist. A therapist provides a completely neutral, professional space where you can untangle the knots of self-doubt and develop personalized coping strategies. If therapy isn't accessible, even talking to a trusted colleague, as my coworker did for me, can break the isolation and provide that crucial reality check. The relief I felt when that coworker left was profound, but the healing took longer. I had to rebuild my trust in my own instincts. I had to heal the moral injury of a system that failed to protect me. If you are in this situation right now, please know that your mental health is the priority. Use these strategies. Set boundaries, document, seek support. And if the culture of the organization consistently fails to protect you, then leaving is not a defeat. It is the ultimate act of setting a boundary. It is you choosing yourself. You deserve to work in an environment that doesn't require you to wage a daily psychological war just to get through the day. Thank you for watching. This is a conversation, so please, share your own strategies for coping and setting boundaries in the comments below. Let's be a resource for each other. Subscribe for more, and take care of yourselves.